has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharp Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharp Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharp Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Yes, so happy that you give me a chunk of your afternoon. And if you want to reach out to me after the break, I'm happy to take your call. 585 346 3000 is the number to chat with me. And you can say good or bad things. I hope only good, but we'll see. I was thinking about my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter is now in college, and she's considering, where she's going to live, right? Where she's going to live after she gets out of college, what she's going to do, those types of things. Of course, as most teenagers or young adults would be thinking. And of course, she thought, well, maybe I'll come and live back in New York City, right? Maybe I'll do that. The issue, of course, is it's expensive. Of course it is. And for any young person who might think, let me move to a big city so I can make my life, awesome, so I can have all the opportunities of a big city, they have a big problem. And that problem is, where are they going to live? How are they going to afford it? How are they going to afford to enjoy the great things that many large cities can provide a young person trying to have excitement and have new ideas and new experiences? It makes sense. I get it. But wow, is it tough? Believe it or not, it's one of the reasons I don't leave New York City myself. This place is hard to live in. But if I pack up and leave, what am I going to rent when I come back here again? Am I going to have my daughters come here and rent when they come back here again? Is that what I'm going to do? Or do I just say, good luck and walk away? It's hard because there is some value to the city. There is, particularly if you're younger, looking for new opportunities, not a bad deal. Or if you're super wealthy, then it's amazing. If you can afford a $10 million apartment in Manhattan, life's good. But I hope that's awesome if you can do that. But for the average person, they struggle. And there's actually a change that happened maybe 10, 15 years ago. I don't remember what it was. Maybe after the crash of 2009, maybe in that area. There are a lot of realtors. And if you know the realtor industry, I think it's still true, but I know back then, I'm assuming it's still true, that many new realtors who are out there brokering deals and such would go out of their way to broker rental agreements because it was faster and they could learn the business, right? And then once they got more traction, understood the business better, had more connections, then they would go off into selling larger houses or selling larger apartments because those take a long time, 6 months to a year to 2 years to close, stuff like that, to find the right person, all that kind of good stuff. With rentals, you can close relatively quickly, right? You can knock a couple renters up, sometimes twice, 3 times a month, maybe, right? Make some cash and survive while you're trying to become bigger and better as a real estate agent. It's a common tactic. Well, they started advertising half rents. What do I mean by that? So the rent for this apartment, for example, is $3,000 a month. Well, they started advertising it as $1,500. You say, wait a minute, Larry, how can they advertise rent that's $3,000 a month as $1,500 a month? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it does. Because it's getting so bad, the assumption is you will have a roommate. That's it. The assumption is you will have to have a roommate. There's no other answer. So, of course, your rent's divided by 2. That is how bad it's gotten in New York City. You might say, Larry, this doesn't make any sense. You've told me more than once, people are leaving New York City. You can see it everywhere. Yes, that's true. And this is the oddest part. Manhattan, to this day, is still the most expensive place to live in the country. Second is Honolulu. Third is San Francisco. And fourth is New York City again, Brooklyn. Yes. So we got it everywhere. For you, according to the state itself, the average, and I mean the average 2-bedroom apartment across New York State is about $2,100. That's the average. New York City, a whole lot more, of course. For you to be able to have a good life and actually live in Manhattan with a 2-bedroom apartment, you have to make $47 an hour. They might go, well, Larry, is that a big deal in New York City? It is. The minimum wage is only like $15 here in New York City. So that's 3 people to live in one house. Then maybe you can handle it. And it's only 2 bedrooms. So someone's sleeping on the couch, or you got a couple who will sleep in the same bedroom. That's how you have to deal with it. The idea of someone packing up and having their own place in New York City, in most large cities, is almost impossible. Now, you might say, Larry, why does that matter? It's young people. Let them go. Let them go and go ahead and live with roommates and such, and it's fine, whatever. I could see that. I could, if it was only young people, right? Not that it's great, but I can understand that logic. Well, let the young kids have to work together, blah, 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 blah. Fine. But this isn't just 18-year-olds. This is 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. This is everybody. This is everybody. It's affecting everybody. But again, I go back. Wait a minute, Larry. How can it be so expensive? I don't get it. People are leaving Manhattan. People leaving New York City. They are. Less and less people have to work in the city. It's true. Less and less people are going into Manhattan. We see it with the amount of people on the subway system and a bus system. We see it. True. Commercial real estate getting destroyed. True. All these things are true. So you would think, well, that's market forces would by default bring the prices down. You would think that would be true. Everything in Manhattan is not going well. However you measure, it's not going well. To the point where right now, I know if you're watching the show, if you listen to the show, the government now, state government saying, we need a $20 billion bailout from the federal government. That's the only way. We get that and we can handle our crisis right now, which is just for right now. We need another 20 billion like 3 months from now again, or whatever, 6 months from now. But that's their answer. So why in the world are these prices not coming down? Why does someone have to make $47 an hour in a state with a minimum wage? I'm sorry, the state minimum wage average, I think $14 an hour, I think average. I think New York City is 15, if not mistaken, but it's in that area, whatever. An individual to have a 2-bedroom apartment, which means a family with 1 bedroom for a kid, or 2 people, or siblings, or whatever, has to make $47 an hour when the minimum wage is no more than 15, 1/3 what you need. How is that even possible? Guess what? It's government. Of course, you knew I was going to say it. Like, it's not like I was hiding it. You knew I was going to say it. Government is supplementing everything and backing up the banking industry. Yes, it's finance. That's the second piece, because sadly, they link together. Government and finance, I mean, it's left hand, right hand, right? Left pocket, right pocket. They're the same. So finance does several things. Number one, it controls these pieces as assets. And because it's an asset, if it's your place, right? You as an individual, you have a house you've bought, you're paying your mortgage on it, and you have an apartment in the basement, and you're trying to use that apartment to help pay your mortgage. Well, if the prices go down, people don't want your apartment, you'll lower the prices. Of course you would. You got to pay your mortgage. Of course you do. But what about when you're a massive finance company? Massive, right? Massive. Like you have billions of dollars under assets under management. Billions. Well, you don't own one home. You own thousands upon thousands upon thousands of units across the globe. I'm not joking. Across the globe. But also, of course, across America. If some of your properties aren't doing well, you can absorb it. Not just that, you can even borrow against them and still make money. So if your places stay open for a bit, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And a bunch of your places are also commercial too. Many times they have combos. So you have a commercial unit, residential units. What's happening with commercial units? Well, government steps right in and says, we're going to come in and we're going to convert these things from commercial to residential. We're going to convert them. Well, who owns these big commercial buildings? Is it guys like me and you? No. If you're listening to this, you do not own a massive commercial building in Manhattan. You probably hate me if you're that person. You hate me. You don't mean talking about this. You're like, shut up, Larry. Stop talking about this. So now government is going to help these people convert their buildings over. So they've been rewarded for not lowering their rents. They've been rewarded for not making it for not making it cheaper for people to take advantage of their properties. The state will now come in with federal dollars and then upgrade all their buildings. Wow. Then who will get the rent? Will it be the government? No, it'll be the big finance companies. Brilliant. Brilliant. And then here's the best part. If they have already decided to invest in these buildings and maybe even to take loans against these massive properties, once they're all rebuilt and now ready for residential, then they can sell the building off. Win-win. And here's the best part. Now we have a migrant crisis. Now we have a homeless crisis. Well, guess what? The government will house these people in these buildings and pay the rent for them. So now the finance company gets rent from the state. Your taxpayer dollars are now ensuring that massive companies, financial companies, can service their own debt, which they're using to create more debt for more people like me and you. This is insane. And I would ask you, who that you're listening to is telling you how this is happening? Let me tell you, it's only me. I'm the only guy telling you this stuff. No one else is. And I'll keep telling you this stuff. The system is broken. We have to repair it. We have to stop the same old thing. They keep winning and we keep losing. Am I wrong? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Sharpe Radio back after the break with your calls and your chat.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business right now, seeking the tiniest opening in your defenses to drain your accounts and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
To live the quality of life we deserve in truth and freedom, informed by our Constitution, our laws, and traditions, we need to pick the best leaders possible. Recent experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate elections are essential if we're going to restore our society and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan group which has been lobbying for open source audits of the State Board of Elections and reform of the electoral process statewide. Did you know Citizens Audit has uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election law? That in 2020, there were 625,000 more voter registrations than existing voting age citizens in just 6 New York counties, that there were 338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the urgent need for reform. You can help. Visit auditny.com and learn the facts, how to volunteer, and make a difference in your community. Again, volunteer, donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com. That's auditny.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
It is Larry Sharpe here on WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. Before the break, I was talking about how the rents in New York City are still insanely high. Even though people are leaving the city's collapsing in many ways. Even though our state is a disaster, collapsing in many ways. How does it stay so high? California, San Francisco is number 3, and that city is worse than New York. And it's number 3. Jeez. Government will not allow it to fail because the people who are there are still supporting the government structure. That's the key. It is a terrible way of making things happen. Take some chat off of the internet. Sam says, 100% correct on the money show game that the pro-money printing faction play. This, Sam, he's 100% correct. As long as they keep printing money from the federal government, that's all that matters. Why doesn't New York State just spend money, right? I hear all the time. Why does New York State always ask for the federal dollars? Very important reason. Sam's right. The federal government has the Fed, so it could just print money. New York State can't just print money. If it could, it would. You guarantee that. If Her Majesty, Queen Kathy, first of her name, destroyer of the middle class, supporter of the elites, all hail. If she could print money, guaranteed she'd print money. Not even close. So yes, that is absolutely correct. It does drive me crazy when I see that. So yes. Grab a couple more if I could. Libby says, and Clinton County DSS has begun to turn away applications and cutting people's food stamps because they're out of money. This is the hardest part, and it's why so many people get upset. And I feel bad about this. There are a lot of people who are angry at migrants. There are a lot of people who are angry at homeless because they see them as they're the ones taking their money. Now, to be forward, is a lot of that money going to migrants? That's true. Accurate. So I see why someone could connect the two. But it isn't the migrants' fault. It's our fault, Libby, for not having an answer for our migrants, for not having a way of fixing this situation. It's our fault for voting for the same losers who keep doing the same thing to us, who keep punishing us, who don't find an answer. It's not the migrants are taking the money. Our leaders are giving them the money. And that is a difference. I don't want to be angry at the migrants. To be forward, if I was in their country, I'd probably come here too. Libby, you probably would too. Right? It's not their fault for coming here. It's our fault for allowing them. That's our fault. And I mean our, not obviously me and yours. I mean our fault as a nation, as a state, as a community. It's our fault for just saying, come on in and here we'll give you money, versus saying, no. You can come in. Here's how. And here's how it works. And here's how we don't punish our own people who live here so that you can be here. And there are ways to make this happen, Libby. I discussed it how many times? 20, 30, 50 to 100 times? You can do it. We don't. You're right. And the problem is state money is for most of these things. And state money is limited. The state is already about $500 million. I'm sorry, $500 billion? Yeah, we're about $500 billion in debt. We're $500 billion in debt already. And our deficit's at least 50 billion. If we don't keep getting cash from the federal government, we can't do this. We are literally becoming a dependent state, right? Our state is becoming a dependent puppet state of the federal government. That's what's happening now. And when that happens, we have to deal with federal issues. Well, as more you deal with federal issues, Libby, the more the individual sitting in Clinton County doesn't matter. and I'm not trying to be cruel when I say this, I'm being honest and forward when I say this. The more our policies are written and controlled by Washington, D.C., the less the average citizen matters. That's true. And I think we're seeing it here in New York. We're seeing it strongly. It's all collapsing. Thank you for that, Libby. You are correct. And I guess I just want to explain that's why it's happening, right? Why in the world would I let someone move? And this is, how do I say this? This is just how they think. Why would I let someone move into my apartment building if they may not pay, when I can just have either homeless or migrants move in and the government guarantees my payment? I'll take it. The government comes in and destroys the market. So why would I want to lower my rent to help out people who are in trouble so I can fill my apartments and at least make some money and try to hand everything around me, when I can just ignore them and have the federal government write me checks all the time and I'll put these people in? And if something goes wrong, I'll just sue the federal government and get money. I'll just sue them. We'll do a class action lawsuit and the government will write me more money. I'll get more checks. The system is broken. And we keep going back to government for more, and government keeps screwing it up. So yes. Bill says, I'm a travel nurse. I get daily offers for New York City, but the pay is not high enough to make it worth it. A, the pay is not high enough to make it worth it. And B, I don't feel like getting thrown into subway tracks by a naked crackhead. Hard pass. Well, Bill, I understand. I live in New York City. I live in Queens. But I rarely go into Manhattan anymore. Once in a while. Prior to the lockdowns, I was in Manhattan every day. Every day I was on a subway. Every day I was in Manhattan every day. I was doing the thing that you saw on TV. That was me every day, heading into Manhattan, seeing clients at my office, other clients' offices. That's what I was doing. Not anymore. I do most of my work from Queens. I don't want to go into Manhattan anymore. Now, am I saying don't come to New York City? I'm not. You will always hear me say the same thing. New York City is an amazing place to visit. When you come visit, it is something memorable. You will never forget it. It's interesting, exciting. There's still great stuff here, wonderful history. Please come visit New York City. Live here. Hard for me to advise that right now. There was a time when I would have said it was worth it. That time now, I think, Bill, you're correct. Come visit, spend a couple days here, enjoy the glory that New York City can be, and then you're probably best to go back home. I'm actually with you. I get it completely. I actually do. So Patty says, 4 adults with incomes and 3 children struggling to make it and cohabitating just to squeak by, and we are all the way up here. Yes, Patty is up in the Plattsburgh area. You know, this is everywhere. Patty's correct. This is everywhere. Obviously, it's exaggerated in New York City, and that's why I bring it up, because I want you to see the peak. And then you think to yourself, wait a minute, I don't live in New York City, and I'm struggling too. Yes. It is a combination with government and big business combined. This is the problem. New York State, America as a whole, but New York State and New York City specifically have focused so heavily on finance that everybody else suffers. I want to be clear. I'm beating up finance today, but finance is important. We should have fun. We should have banks. We should have people making loans. We should have people doing investments. These are important things, but they should be a small part of our economy that helps the rest of the economy grow. That's when finance is perfect. I need to, buy that car or that house, and I've got some financing there. I need some credit cards, for Christmas time or something, right? Yeah, it makes total sense. It's good. I want to start a business, right? Whatever. I want to make a big investment. Great ideas. All good. We require finance. It's critical. But when it's 10, 20% of your economy, that's a problem. That means we are an economy taking time and money to move money around, but not actually create something. That is a bigger problem. That is what's happening now. We're making that part happen. It drives me crazy. So, no soundbites allowed. Michael Voss, how are you? He says illegal aliens are not migrants, not our problem. New York State spending $12 billion taxpayer dollars on illegals instead of locals and state issues. True, but you caught me at a break. Mike, I will cover that absolutely when we come back. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Shortwave Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Back with your calls and more internet chat after the break.
In the Rochester and Finger Lakes region, one name stands above all others for real estate appraisal and advice.
Ryan Murphy and Associates.
This full-service real estate appraisal company can appraise and advise on purchase and sales decisions, mortgage finance feasibility, estate, matrimonial, partnership buyouts, litigation, and more for any type of property, both residential and commercial. Ryan Murphy was founded almost 40 years ago. All of our highly trained staff members have at least 20 years of experience. All our appraisers are either New York State certified, general or residential real estate appraisers.
Ryan Murphy and Associates.
Start here. RYNNEMurphy.com.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs from inside to outside, underground or in the air. A wide range of rental items, boom lifts, trencher, stump grinder, post hole diggers, and more. Geneseo Hardware offers screen and window repair. Voted best hardware store in Livingston County. Open daily, including Sundays. Get personalized service. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Just minutes from Kinesis Lake.
Cobblestone Capital Advisors, LLC, offers comprehensive financial management services throughout Western New York and nationwide. Cobblestone's an active supporter of numerous local organizations, including Mary Cariola Children's Center, Wilmot Cancer Center, Holy Childhood, Rochester Child First Network, and Golisano Children's Hospital. Since 1986, Cobblestone Capital Advisors has been building strong foundations for both its clients and its community. Cobblestone Capital Advisors, focused on one goal, yours.
The colors are red for valor, white for innocence, and blue for justice. Our nation's flag proclaims liberty for all, and our military service members continue to fight for the right to live in freedom. Honor their service and sacrifice with an American-made flag from the Stars and Stripes Flag Store. Visit eflagstore.com to shop now. All proceeds support Veterans Outreach Center and local veterans.
Patriots, take a stand at the God and Country Awakening event of Monroe County. Come support Mark Cassini and others as we gather to take back our county. It's now our only backstop to progressives in Albany. You'll also hear from several influential pastors that will make the case that the church must re-engage in politics and government. Sunday, September 24th, 5 p.m., the Italian American Community Center in Gates. Just a $10 ticket. Contact Mark at markforcountyexecutive.com and take a stand.
Now is the time to make sure your child is receiving education, not indoctrination. Archangel School is academically challenging, Common Core, and CRT free, a brighter school experience that honors your traditional American values. If you're looking for an affordable Catholic faith-based school for your child from preschool through grade 12, come to Archangel School's open house Thursday, October 5th from 6 to 7:30. Enroll now at archangelschool.com or call 585-247-1112.
What's happening outside? Check the all-new WYSL1040.com's Weather Watch, proudly sponsored by AirQuip Heating and Air. Quality is in the air with AirQuip, also bringing you the News 10 forecast hourly on the WYSL stations.
Sharpeway Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, you thought I had gone away, but I have not. I am still here. Can't get rid of me yet. Larry Sharpe here on Shortwave Radio, WYSL in Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. For the break, Michael Voss is busting my stones, saying that illegal aliens are not migrants and are not our problem. New York State spending $12 billion taxpayer dollars on illegals instead of local instead issues. Well, the second part of that's correct. We are spending far too many billions on them instead of local instead issues. I agree with that completely. We definitely should be. And this is literally Libby's issue. We have to spend more money on people here in New York State. Yes, no argument. But they are migrants. Migrants are both illegal aliens and non-illegal aliens. They're all migrants, right? I'm using migrants as a general term. So I think, yes, that's true. But they are our problem. Why? Because they're here. If they weren't here, they wouldn't be our problem. You're right. But they're here in our state. They're taking up resources. They are taking up time, money, and energy that could be used for other things that are valuable for us. So I do think it is our problem, clearly. My point is we have to fix it. Now, I know some people will tell me, they will say, no, Larry, we don't want them here. Okay. An individual or individuals may not want these people here. That's true. I don't know that. Maybe you don't, he doesn't, she doesn't, whatever. The big deal is, though, New York State business wants them here without question. That's 100%. There's no way New York City would be a sanctuary city if big business didn't want them. So business does want them. Hospitality industry, farming industries, we want them and more. The issue is they are here. They are our problem because they're here. We let them here, right? We let them here. We bust them here, or we gave them a plane ride here. We brought them here. And when I say we, I don't mean you, Mike. Obviously you didn't. You'd be against it. But as a nation, as a state, we brought them here. We had open arms. Eric Adams said, we're a sanctuary city. Bring them all to us. And then they did. And he was like, well, what I meant was, all of a sudden things were different. So they are our problem. And we do have to fix it. We can't just let them stay here. We got to do something. I've talked many ways on how to fix this, but people don't want to do it. It is a pain. And imagine if that $12 billion that Michael just talked about, imagine if that $12 billion was spent helping out people who needed housing in some way. I would argue, if you're going to take that $12 billion and you're going to give it to people who own buildings so they can house these workers and the homeless, instead, give it to a builder who will build cheap rent-to-own housing. Do that. Make that the down payment for all the housing so that these builders don't take a bath and they'll happily build inexpensive rent-to-own housing. You do that, people like Libby get a nice, inexpensive home that they're renting to own. Drop $12 billion on that. Be a whole lot better. All of a sudden now people are coming in and they're happy because what are they doing? They're renting to own. And I'm still supporting people who are here in New York so they can survive too. We can do both. But if we do both, then we can't fight each other. If we do both, then we can't keep control. If we do both, I can't keep most of my New Yorkers struggling, so don't bother thinking, how do I fix things? How do I fix things? That's the issue. So I see where you're going. Yes. So Mike he goes right back to, he doubles down. Deport them. Not to put them in 3-star hotels, spending $60K per year, double the average U.S. income. We know where they are, and the illegals are federal criminals. All right. Nice idea. Okay, we're going to deport them all. Okay. How are we going to find them all, and how much money would it cost to find them all, physically detain them all, put them all on planes or buses or trains, you decide, send them back to whatever country they came from. Half of them didn't even come from Mexico, over half. They come from other places. You're going to send them back to China. You're going to send them back to Algeria. You're going to send them back to Ivory Coast. Send them back there, Senegal. You're going to send them back there. You're going to send them back. You're going to do that? Or just put them across the Mexican border and drop them off? You drop them off the Mexican border? What are Mexicans going to do? We don't want them. Go back to America. They go ship right to America. While this sounds amazing, it is practically impossible. It can't be done. There are at least 10 million undocumented workers in America. At least, if not more. That's the minimum. How are you going to get them all? You know how many people you have to hire to capture them all? And then once you started, the second you started, big business would stop you. Because all the hotels, all the hospitality, all the restaurants, they're all migrant workers. They're all illegals, as you would say. All of them. Not all of them. A huge chunk of them are. They're going to say, stop right now, or I stop supporting your campaigns. The second that happens, this stops. Not going to happen. Guaranteed. To my point, you don't want them. Big business does. And they're more powerful than both you and me. They're more powerful. So I get it. Not going to happen. Literally impossible. We have to make a system where we can handle them. If we're not going to close the border, they're going to walk right back across. So whatever New York State does, they're going to walk back across the border. So yes, Frank goes on to say, would Governor Sharpe advocate reclosing the southern border to illegal immigrants? Yes and no. Yes and no. I don't want illegal immigrants. I want vibrant and heavy immigration, but I want to make it legal. So I want to make a system on the border. I've mentioned it 1,000 times. I'll mention it again. We have got to put on the border several Ellis Islands, which are not run by the government, run by private companies, lease the land out for the government, recruiting companies. If you want to come to our country legally, just go to Ellis Island. The Ellis Island will keep you there for whatever is the appropriate time, 14 days, 30 days, whatever's the number, to do the appropriate background checks, to see what skills you have, to make sure you don't have a kind of disease or whatever. And then you get an orange card. And for every state that opts in, send them to those states that opt in. They're now legal, been checked out, they're good. All of that's great. Now, of course, response is, but Larry, the bad guys won't go there. That's correct. For them, close the border. So the rest of the border, all the people right now who are playing babysitter, Frank, grabbing people and being travel agent right now, Frank, for these migrants, should be guarding the border to keep the bad guys out. The bad guys won't go to the Ellis Island. So now stop them. So now anyone you catch outside the Ellis Island is by default a criminal. You can stop the bad guys. Let the people who want to work come to the Ellis Island. We check them out and we send them. This is what I want to do. So yes and no. I do not want to stop immigration to America. I think immigration is a wonderful idea. We should keep it going. The current system, which allows bad guys and terrible people in, is a disaster. So I hope that was clear in my response. Roger says, thank you, Roger, for super chat. Stop invading their countries at the behest of corporate who want the natural resources. These stabilize the governments where and when they flee to come here. Yes, let me grab that piece he's talking about. In addition to that, we should stop messing with these other countries, leave them alone, and stop the war on drugs. Both of those things. Stop giving people reasons to flee. Roger's correct. We give people reasons to flee and then get mad when they flee. I will say again, I'm not unhappy with people fleeing. I would too if I was them. Frank, you would too. You'd be on your way over here too if you could. It's not their fault for fleeing. It is our fault two ways. One, for giving them reasons to flee with our terrible foreign policy. And then two, not giving them a way to come here legally. We have to give them a way to come here legally. We have to. And we have failed completely, right? We have failed completely. Desiree says, undocumented people should not get treated better than homeless people here. Yes and yes. You're correct. I've talked about ways to help the homeless too. Every time you see me talk, I talk about ways to actually help people constantly. But again, people don't want to because Roger is correct. Roger is saying that people are acting for corporate benefits. That's accurate. They're not working to help us. They're working to help the corporate fat cats who don't care about us at all. I'll give you the best example I can, how bad this is getting. There's a historian who says, if you want to know how centralized, controlled, and corrupt a company is, look at the population around their political capital. What I mean by that, go to Russia. The largest city in Russia, by far, is Moscow, the capital city. All the wealthy and powerful people need to be close to that because that's controlled. I mean, it's like 12 million people in Moscow. Like the next city is like 3 million or something like that. It's very low. It's not even close. Moscow is huge. How about DC? Not so big. Our bigger cities are New York, Chicago, LA, Houston, Phoenix. So we're not as bad. But what's the most wealthiest county in the country? I think it's number one, number two. I think it's number one, number two. And one of the fastest growing now. Northern Virginia, right by DC. The more we move towards that, the more people need to be close to power. Because how do you grow? When government allows you to grow. When government allows you to grow. It's happening more and more, and you're finding more and more people move towards DC to make sure they have a presence there, because that's how they're able to grow. That is a big deal. That is a big deal. Yes. I hope that was clear on what you were asking. So yes. All righty. Joe says, how do I get a illegal immigrant get out of paying taxes card? You know, that's not bad. Should I say I'm an illegal immigrant so I don't got to pay taxes? That's not a bad idea, Joe. Maybe that's the piece. There we go. Patty goes on to say, according to the census, New York lost so many people. We need them. I agree. Again, I'm not against migration at all. I'm not against immigrants at all. I am all about them. All about them coming. I want them to come. But we have to find the right way to make them come. And we have failed miserably at that. And this is one of my biggest issues. It can be repaired. It drives me crazy that we just don't repair it. Absolutely crazy. All right. Am I right? Are these guys right? Are they wrong? You can tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Back with your calls and more internet chat. Thank you. The chat is blowing up after the break.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business right now, seeking the tiniest opening in your defenses to drain your accounts and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
To live the quality of life we deserve in truth and freedom, informed by our Constitution, our laws, and traditions, we need to pick the best leaders possible. Recent experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate elections are essential if we're going to restore our society and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan group which has been lobbying for open source audits of the State Board of Elections and reform of the electoral process statewide. Did you know Citizens Audit has uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election law? That in 2020, there were 625,000 more voter registrations than existing voting age citizens in just 6 New York counties, that there were 338
K-Way of Roger
cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the urgent
You're welcome.
need for reform. You can help. Visit auditny.com and learn the facts, how to volunteer, and make a difference in your community. Again, volunteer, donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com. That's auditny.com.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Larry Sharpe back here, Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Happy that you give me a chunk of your afternoon. And yes, Chaz has been good. He's done some homework for me. Loudoun and Fairfax have been the top 3 richest counties in the U.S. for a couple of decades now. Yes, and those are the 2 that are in Northern Virginia. Thank you, Chaz. Those are the ones I was talking about. It's just growing more and more and more. Absolutely. Frank says, my friend and fellow employee from Veracruz, Mexico got upset after becoming a U.S. citizen and discovered he had to start paying income taxes now. See, Joe, you better hook up my boy Frank when you get your card. Let me grab a call if I could. I'm going to grab Roger from Nassau. How are you, sir?
Hey, Larry, what's up?
What's going on?
Good, good. So I want to say this real quick. All right, so banks are given the authority to print money by the federal government. They do it all the time. They take deposits, mark them up, and then issue out lines of credit. When and they what is it? They get paid back in the interest, which goes to profit. Okay.
Yep.
Now with the public bank, like a regular bank does the same thing, except it does it with tax deposits. And instead of it going to profit, it goes toward the public good. So Queen Kathy can print her own money if she wanted. She just has to be willing to pass the New York Public Banking Act, which would allow localities to do that, and the State Bank of New York Act, which would allow the state to do that. So we don't got to keep running back to the federal government. Okay. Now, check this out.
The issue here is there are several issues here. One of them is, you're right, this is fractional banking. And for those of you who don't know, obviously Roger knows, or he would have said this, but some of you listening may not know this. If a bank takes in, as an example, $100, they don't have to keep the full $100 in that bank. So now I give the bank $100, and Roger says, I want to borrow $100 from the bank. The bank says, okay, and writes credit for $100. They only have to keep $10 from that $100 in the bank. So that means when I give them 100, they can break that up into 10 parts of 10, and then lend out $100, just keeping $10 for each, and basically just making credit, creating money is what Roger's saying. They just do it. That's how all banks work. Now, that's why if there's a bank run, you've heard that before, everybody comes back to grab their money, the banks go under. Why? They don't have all that money. They only have 10% of what they've loaned out. So if a bank loans out $1 billion, it's only got 10% of that in the actual bank. So if everybody wants their money back, we got a problem. So that's one of the reasons why that is an issue. That's how they're able to just make money. Now they make money on that, plus they make money, obviously, on interest. So you're paying interest and they've just magically made money. That's how that works. That's how the federal government can just make more money too. Banks can make more money also. Yes, that's all correct. So thank you. I just want to bring that up, Roger. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I had an Uber customer from North Dakota, and he told me, he said, yeah, we always had a can-do spirit ourselves. And he was just like, we don't really ask that much from the federal government. We usually do it ourselves. And I explained to him that, yeah, that's because you guys have a state public bank where that allows you to do it yourself. And when I explained to him the benefits of it, he's just like, oh, okay, I get it now.
I am shocked, Roger, at the number of people from North Dakota who don't know that. In fact, I don't know if you happen to watch the Republican debates were last Wednesday, and the North Dakota governor was on the debates and never mentioned it.
Because if you're on the right, you really don't like a public bank. It's kind of like a secret that it kind of makes you look bad in terms of your narrative. You understand where I'm coming from? Because it's seen as socialist banking. So it's something that they don't want to admit, but try to take it away from them, they'll cut your hand off.
No, I agree with you. Look, I'm a libertarian. And when I first heard about public bank, as you know, Roger, you and I discussed it, I was not happy about it. I was not happy about the idea of it until I kind of thought what the benefits are. The narrative isn't a good narrative for a libertarian. You're correct. But you know what I want? I want more localized communities supporting themselves, helping themselves, so we can pull ourselves off of the government, which is what North Dakota has done. So North Dakota has used the bank to have local people be more powerful, to have more people having fixing themselves, more of a bootstraps, being available.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Also, if we were a ballot initiative state, I would run one to outlaw private equity like BlackRock from owning housing. That's just me.
Well, if you went to housing, here's where I would consider it. My worry is I don't want to have the government step in and say people can't invest. So if I do that, I might limit it to residential. Right?
No, that's what I want.
Business.
Yes. I should have said that. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't really thinking of commercial. I was thinking specifically our homelessness crisis.
Yes, correct. But I would make an exception. And the exception I'm always going to make, and I'm hardcore on this, if they're prepared to make cheap rent-to-own housing, I'm prepared to make an exception. I want that to become the norm. And I feel like we're just not doing that. We're not getting people to be able to have ownership, to pull themselves out of being a rental mentality into an actual ownership mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no problem with that. Now, let me tell you how the New York State... Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
So let me tell you how the New York State legislature threw us under the bus. All right. So they saw that, oh, my God, it's so expensive to live in New York State and New York City and so on and so forth.
Yep.
We help, not you, but we help these people, so-called progressives, get into office. And what they did was they raised their pay by $62,000 in a matter of 4 years and left us behind. They went from $79,500 to $110,000, and then just in December they went to $142,000. That reminds me of that episode of Snoopy, of the Peanuts gang. Somebody had passed out, and I think Lucy or someone said, "Somebody get some water." Snoopy runs to the fountain, gets a glass of water, comes back and drinks it himself.
Yes, that's what happened. You're right. That's what happened. So the progressives were like, we got to help out the progressives in New York State. And when we say progressives, we mean us. We don't mean anybody else.
Yeah.
We mean us.
Wait a minute.
That's amazing. Roger, that's so good. Thank you for the call, my friend.
That's all I had to say, really. I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Have a good one.
You too.
So, yes, I think that's a great point, right? The leadership in New York talks a great game. They really do. If you listen to them, they say how they care. They talk about what they're going to do to help people. I mean, the talk is amazing. Okay, now what do you do when you get to power? You help yourself. That's what you do. You help yourself. So they talked a good game. That's nice. It sounded good. I felt good while they were, talking about it. But that's it. Then when the time came, just did nothing. We can fix these things, guys. It's going to take time, but we can. I hope you'll stay with me. Thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.